there's almost nothing better you can do with your art than have fun and help your friends. I'd like to tell you how I designed this prom shirt in about a day, and I think the story of a design is almost as interesting as the design itself. So let me walk you through this masquerade prom t-shirt design. So it all started, I was at lunch with some of my friends. They are in charge of the prom committee, and they had a problem on their hand. They had no shirt design, and they needed to get it to the people, the printer, that day. So here is the prompt. I told them I'd love to help, and this is what I could do. Here's the brief. It is a prom shirt. The theme is masquerade. They needed just a design for the back. And here are the colors. They had black, white, gold, but most importantly, they needed it the next morning. So they needed it by the next morning, but I have kids. I have 2 young kids. So what that really meant was I would have about 2 hours total to get it done. So 2 hours total, what that meant was it needed to be simple. It needed to be pretty straightforward in order to get it done at this speed. But also, it's a masquerade, it's prom. It's also got to be kind of elegant. So I had my colors, I had my prompt, I had something simple, something elegant. So that's where I began. From that, I started off looking at the assets they had. They were designing part of it in Canva, so I grabbed 2 of the elements they were considering. They wanted gold, and it was going to be on a black shirt. So I made this little mock-up. This mock-up is just sort of where they were, and I was going to work from there. First thing was just play on Canva, and I made this little design. I thought it was neat. They could use it if they wanted. But then I just started sketching. And sketching is more important right now than reference. I'm not going to look at reference first because I want to have the reference for the direction I want the final design to be. So right now you can see me playing. First thing I drew was this mask, just trying to figure out what does a masquerade mask even look like. Does it have like a Batman nose? You can see this one has sort of a pyramid nose. I drew a mask. This one looked more like a owl mask and a crown. I thought of crowns because crowns at prom king, prom queen, you have this sort of carnival looking thing. And down here I had an idea that ended up being used later on. This is going to be the seed for the actual thing. You can see I liked it again. I wanted to try it out with a little darker values. So I started doing a little bit of values, a little bit more of a pose. And from there, I said, this is going to be it. I said, this is going to be my design. Well, the next step was I made this. You may think that this is blurry, out of focus, but if you look at it, this is the actual drawing. What I did here is I used my phone and I used the Notes app. I used the Notes app and the marker, and I used the big highlighter function and my finger right on my phone, and I tried to outline this basic shape. It's almost like a color key, a color script for a movie. I wanted to see if it read small on my phone and I could see the vision from here. Where if you can't see it, we have a woman, she has accents of gold and she's kind of in white, and I have a man in kind of a suit. I tried to make it a little darker but still able to see on the black, and you can see these gold highlights throughout. So from this, I took all of my notes and then I went scouring on the internet for part of the day, just looking for reference. I started with the best JC Leyendecker and his illustrations. But once again, you have to remember, part of the brief was that I would have 2 hours. These are masterful paintings that it would take me a week to get even half of this quality. And it's still a lifetime of work might not get you to JC Leyendecker quality, but he has something about it. There's a life in these paintings that I wanted to capture. I kept looking. I found some black and white things where there's a relationship happening, there's a narrative happening in there, and there's also simplicity. I wanted something simple. I really wanted something more outline, more, less of this really intense hatching, this cross hatching, something that was elegant and simple. Once again, a narrative playing out. And so I took all of these, I took my color script, and this was my starting point. I knew what I wanted to look like. And so I took some reference pictures. I took reference pictures with me, I took reference pictures of my wife, and I did as best I could with the pose. I didn't worry too much about the clothes. I knew I needed a jacket because I knew those lapels, I knew those things would be a little difficult. And for my wife's dress, I decided just to use a big blanket because that could simulate a flowing gown pretty easily. With that in hand, I started to draw. I brought it into Procreate. I used our bodies as rough stencils. I fixed our proportions to where I wanted it to be. And I just started playing. I started refining. I did many layers. And I ended up running into a little difficulty with the masks. I couldn't figure out how I wanted the masks. So what I did, I have these foam heads. And I basically ripped up a piece of paper to be a mask. If it wasn't the right shape, I would rip it a little more. These were made in about 45 seconds a piece, and they kind of look like it. But what these give me is a reference for how a mask is going to sit on the head. I could tilt it, move it, and you can see how much of it's going to be on one side. The eye will be here. And I can ignore the tape holding it on. This is our boy. Here is our lovely lady. Got to design the masks by hand first with the paper when I couldn't decide how a boy's mask should look. And if you look at it, the final mask on the guy is not like this one, but I thought this one gave me enough details to work with. And when I made this, I wasn't even sure where I wanted the mask to sit or how it even should sit. So I had even more reference that I could make. All that, I finally was happy. And I had two versions. I had one version where the woman was sort of in white and the guy was sort of in gold, and his mask was white and it was sort of like an opposites. But I decided to go with kind of they're all in white and sort of the things that make the night special: the masks, the shoes, the cane, the rings, the flower, the bow tie. These things all are in gold. I didn't work with the printer, but they did a really beautiful job. I don't know if you can see, but that gold is shimmering. And I was really happy when I got to see it on a shirt. But I just think the story of how things get made is sometimes more important and more interesting than what actually they are. And I look at this and I'm really proud to have it. I know it's just like a prom t-shirt and I'm a 30-year-old man, but I'm really excited to wear it because I made it in a little way. It was fun. It was 24 hours and I got to help my friends. And I think there's almost nothing better you can do with your art than have fun and help your friends. So yeah, I hope you like it. And if you went to prom, I hope you had a good time too.